Jeff, the host of the Gridiron.
All right, welcome to the Gridiron, baby. If you can give this video a thumbs up or maybe share this video, that would be absolutely freaking phenomenal. If you subscribe to my channel, thank you. If not, please go down below, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon. That way next time I go live or if I put a video out, you'll be notified. And it's free of charge. What do you got to lose? It's totally free of charge. But if you are subscribed to my channel, thank you. And you want to help support my channel, description box below, very top link, I believe it is in the description box, takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. Each one has their own little perks to them. So if you want to help support my channel out, it would mean so much to me. And I thank you in advance. Thank you. And then finally, just underneath that, there's another link. It takes you to my Facebook group. It's called the New York Giants The Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. We have over 9,500 members in the group. It is doing simply marvelous, might I add. Basically, if I'm alive and breathing, and if I got internet access, I am putting stuff in this group darn near 365. It's called the New York Giants The Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. Please join it. You will not be dissatisfied. I promise. All right. Well, I guess what would you say is good old Mr. Pat Summerall said as Matt Barr kicked the field goal in the 1990 championship game for the Giants beat the 49ers 15-13. There will be no three-peat, right? So one of the greatest championship games in history, period. I don't want to say bar none, but it was a dandy. I mean, that was certainly a special one because it was low scoring. Giants won, didn't even score a touchdown. I mean, two really good teams, and there was only one touchdown scored. I think there was Everson Walls, I think it was, went for I think he went for the pick. And Taylor caught the ball and ran down the sideline for the touchdown. But other than that, I mean, you had 5? You had 7 field goals kicked and 1 touchdown. I mean, amazing, simply amazing. That stuff like that doesn't usually wind up happening. But I mean, special championship game. Well, I'm sure Mr. Summerall is looking down upon us right now as we speak and saying there will be no three-peat. Well, the Kansas City refs, they got it. I just can't even talk sometimes about some of this. It's just unbelievable. The way the calls they got and the stuff that went in their favor all season long. I mean, they were outplayed by the Texans. Some of the stuff. I mean, just like everything was just lining up perfectly for them. Well, sorry, not happening. The Philadelphia Void Years. Congratulations. I will no longer call them the word that starts with the E. Nope. The Philadelphia Void Years. And that's the only reason why, to me anyway. I mean, there's other reasons, but the main reason that the Philadelphia Void Years were in the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl by such a convincing fashion is because their star players, which they can't afford to pay, because they have to put void years on the end of the contracts. Now I just want to just start vomiting profusely. You ever see The Exorcist? The girl, like, her head starts rotating, turning around, and she vomits, like projectile vomit. I just get that when I start thinking about the Void Years, the Philadelphia Void Years. But I mean, I know Darius Slay, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, Lane Johnson, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith. At least 6 guys that the Void Years have on the roster that they're not paying them. Unlike with the Giants. I mean, a lot of like remember back when we had to let Bradbury go right? And of course, he went to the void years, right? Because why? Because we couldn't afford them. Because on our salary cap, we were overspent. We couldn't afford to keep them. Well, the void years picked them up because it doesn't matter. There's no salary cap with the void years. They bring in all these guys. They couldn't afford Saquon Barkley because they throw void years on the end of the contracts because they can't afford to pay him. And keep him under the salary cap. They can't. Jalen Hurts is making $51 million a year. They paid him $13 million, I think, or he went $13 million toward the cap this year. Saquon, I think, went $3 million toward the cap. I mean, I think like between the I think Saquon and Jalen Hurts, they're almost making like close to like $65 million, but they only went like $15 million toward the cap. But if you put Devontae Smith in there, who's making like about 20, AJ Brown 20 to 25, Lane Johnson's making like 20 to 25, AJ Brown's making 20 to 25, Darius Slay's making like 20 or so. I mean, yeah, they could not afford to pay these guys unless they're adding void years and pushing all the money. After they're gone, their money's still on the book, And so, that to me, that does not impress me. Will never impress me. I don't care if they win the next 900, so I could care less. I mean, if the void years get in the Super Bowl again next year, I'm not going to watch. I'm not impressed at all. To me, if you can't afford to pay your players, and or when you sign like Saquon, right, to a 3-year deal, after 3 years is up, Saquon has all his money in his pocket, whoever's owed to him, and the contract, poof, is gone. That's not the way it is with the void years. The Philadelphia void years put 4 void years on the end of his contract, so the money's like getting finagled. It's like almost like a Ponzi scheme. It's an absolute joke. You want they want parity in the NFL. Well, the Eagles can't afford these players, so they should go elsewhere. Why are the Eagles getting it and they can't afford them? I mean, under the rules, they can, but they can't. So to me, it's like a Ponzi scheme kind of crap going on. And it's so funny because they can't afford these players on their roster without adding void years. And they still had like 10, 11, $12 million in salary cap space, which gets added to next year. Why the Eagles have great cap space? Why? What? They can't afford to pay their players, and they're without adding void years on, and they got all this. What? Nah, get the out of here. I absolutely can't stand them. Absolutely can't stand them. But they stopped. As I said, and the only thing that made me happy here was that between these two absolute scumbag teams, is that one of them had to lose. That was the only bright spot I had. And I didn't watch any of it. We'll never watch any of it. If my life depends upon it, we'll not watch it. But apparently the Philadelphia Void Years beat the Kansas City Refs. So at least there will be no Threepeat. So you can look at however you want to look at it. 2 times in history, you can almost say 2.5 times in history it happened before. The 65, 6, and 67 Green Bay Packers, the 29, 30, and 31 Green Bay Packers. You can kind of maybe say the 22, well, because there was 3 Bulldogs in a row, 22, 23, and 24. Now it was the 22 and 23 Canton Bulldogs, the 24 Cleveland Bulldogs. Now the why I say 2.5 times, okay, was because the Canton Bulldogs 22 and 23, some of that roster got bought up because they got into like a financial difficulty after 23. and the Cleveland Bulldogs wound up buying or getting some of the players from the Canton Bulldogs on the Cleveland Bulldogs, and the Cleveland Bulldogs in 1924 wound up winning. So some of those players from the Canton Bulldogs in 22 and 23 won the Cleveland Bulldogs in 24. Won the title. So you can almost say almost 2.5 times it happened before. So, but at least not in the modern, the Super Bowl era, shall we say. It was close because it was the Packers won in 1965. They beat the Cleveland Browns 23-12 in the championship game. Well, that was obviously the year before the Super Bowl started. And of course, we all know this Packers won the first 2 Super Bowls, but after Lombardi stepped down, I guess maybe he kind of knew. Tough to say. Tough to say, but he kind of knew his team was getting a little old, a little beat up. Because that team that won the, it was not his best team. The one that won Super Bowl II. They trampled the Rams in the first round of the playoffs, 28-7. And of course, they won the Ice Bowl 21-17, one of the greatest games, period. Especially with if you throw the weather in there, my goodness. But they did trample the 33-14. They did trample the Oakland Raiders in Super Bowl II. But I'm not sure if Lombardi kind of knew maybe things are going to start getting a little rocky because team was not quite as good. The 62 team was really good, 61, 62, and 65 was really good, 66, but the 67 team started, and the age started catching up with some of the guys. Obviously, in 67, right? Taylor and Horning weren't there anymore, so not exactly sure what Lombardi was thinking, but after he stepped away, he just became the GM in 68. The Packers obviously didn't go to the playoffs, and then in 69, Lombardi coached the Redskins, and unfortunately, 69 was his last season coaching, very sadly. But as I said, congratulations to the Philadelphia Voyageurs. Once again, the NFC East is, not only the only division where every team has won a Super Bowl, but now, and I don't know when this will. I haven't looked, but every team has won a Super Bowl, right? But not only has every team won a Super Bowl, but every team in this division has won multiple Super Bowls, right? The Voyageurs have won 2, the Commanders have won 3, Giants have won 4, and the Cowboys have won 5. So, and by far, this division has won the most Super Bowls, 14 now. We were at 13. Actually, after the Giants won, we were at 12 for a few years, and then the Voyageurs won to make it 13. Now the Voyageurs won again, so we're at 14. So up to 14. So once again, the NFC East is no longer the NFC least. The NFC, as long as the Philadelphia Voyageurs keep doing what they're doing and keep their Ponzi scheme kind of going on and bringing in players that they can't afford to pay, and just putting Voyageurs on the end of the contract and pushing the stuff forward. As long as the Voyageurs keep doing that, they might be good for a long time to come. I wish they would do away with it because it's like, as I said, if you want, the Giants don't do that. The Giants could do that, but they don't want to do that. They don't want to push the Voyageurs have like $300 to $400 million in contract pushed down the road. Right. And and the thing is, you want parity. Because sometimes when they're going to have to start paying the piper, right? When these contracts, whatever they have to, the money has to start. They might be putting just garbage on the field. It's if you want parity, right? After the contract is up, if it's a 3 or 4, the guy has his money, and the contracts are off the books. We're not pushing money down the road. That's not happening. If you can't afford your players, you don't get them. They go to somebody else. What a concept, huh? It's not the Master Charge League. It's not the Diners Club. It's not the Visa. It's not the Discover Card League. No. If you can't afford your players, you don't get them. And if the Eagles tried to actually pay their players the way the Giants do, I mean, everybody's making fun of, the Giants having to pay Daniel Jones $40 million. They paid the Giants, Daniel Jones $40 million. They're making fun of that. Well, Daniel Jones' contract is after this gone off the books. Jalen Hurts' contract goes through like the 2030 season or something. I mean, it's like that's why anything that the Philadelphia Voideers do will never ever impress me, because I just don't agree with what they're doing. And that's the only reason, to me, not the only, but that's the biggest reason why they're in the Super Bowl. And that's the biggest reason why they won the Super Bowl. Right? Can't afford their players. So I don't agree with that at all. But enough of talking about these Philadelphia scumbags, because I'm starting to get nauseous here. I want to just start throwing up. So let's change the subject here. Now this one here, Aaron Rodgers, 81. Anybody? Timothy, what do you think? Should we take Aaron Rodgers, Timothy? Nah. Hey, Balake, what do you think about Aaron Rodgers, huh? No, Balake, no. Hey, D-Nice, what do you think? D-Nice, what do you think about Aaron Rodgers, huh? Nah, me neither. I've seen, there's a couple articles here talking about Giants signing Aaron Rodgers, and I'm like, nah, absolutely not. They just absolutely not. I mean, what he was doing with the Jets. I mean, did he set the world on fire last with the Jets? I mean, he even he had Wilson. He got Adams in there, and it's like, so there's always something wrong. There's always he's been, it's like, I don't know, the past like 4 or 5 years, 6 years, whatever it was, when he was with the Packers at the end of the season. Are you coming back? I don't know. I have to think about it. I don't know. I'm gonna have to see, think. I mean, then he play a year, and then he at the end of that next season, he's like, "You gonna play?" I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about it. I'm not sure. I don't know. It's like it's always drama, always something going on. And then he goes on all these not talk shows, but podcasts and stuff like that. And absolutely not. There's no way. I would absolutely not. And the thing is too, hey, 4-time MVP, wants to get paid. I get it, right? But the amount of money you'd probably have to pay the guy, I mean, probably at least $40 million. I'm thinking, he's at the end of his career, but I mean, it's like, I don't know. It seems like anything, it's like nothing's ever his fault. I mean, he just, it's like, it's almost like a soap opera. Wherever he goes, it's almost like a soap opera. And, well, let's see. I mean, this is once again here. I mean, I don't know who the Giants are linked to the 4-time MVP quarterback in a blockbuster trade idea. I mean, who the heck comes up with this crap? Giants front office may be feeling a large dose of pressure entering the 2025 offseason as they fight to save their jobs. The main objective for general manager Joe Shane, fresh off a disastrous 3-14 season, is to find a new direction at the quarterback position. While that's easier said than done, the depth chart is non-existent. Daniel Jones was cut midseason in the middle $160 million deal. Drew Lock and Tim Boyle are free agents. Tommy Chicken Cutler Parmesan is an exclusive rights free agent, so it's likely that he returns unless the Giants, don't tender him to an offer. If the Giants tender him an offer, he has to accept it. So, to me, it just wouldn't make any sense for the Giants not to tender Tommy Chicken Cutler Parmesan. Absolutely not. I mean, it would make no sense not to. This would be, it was at least his third year with the team. I mean, he knows the offense like the back of his hand. And if he's like maybe a third stringer or something, I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. And he would be on the cheap for sure. The majority believes the Giants will try to use the number 3 overall pick, right, to grab either maybe Ward or Sanders. However, a new wrinkle has been added into the mix. New York Jets reportedly are moving on from Aaron Rodgers, hoping to find a new home in a trade. Giants were named as a potential landing spot for Rodgers. Rodgers could keep playing games at MetLife Stadium should the Giants prefer not to draft Cam or Shedeur Sanders early in the first round. Rodgers could work well with Brian Daboll because of his strong arm and mobility, plus young offensive skill players like Malik Neighbors, Tyrone Tracy, and Theo Johnson. What a wild ride that would be if the Giants decided to go with Rodgers rather than attempting to land. Despite his Hall of Fame resume, Rodgers isn't the same quarterback he used to be as he enters age 41. He struggled to produce at a high level despite working with some strong weapons, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, and Breece Hall. In the season after tearing his Achilles, Rodgers completed 63% of his play, 3,897 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. I mean, hey, that's not too bad, right? 90.5 passer rating. His passer rating was the lowest of his career since becoming a starter in 2008. Now, he is coming back, right, from the Achilles injury now, too. Giants are able to wait until Rodgers hits free agency rather than sending assets in a trade. Maybe he could be viewed as a cheaper bridge option. So the Giants are severely lacking all over the depth chart. So there's not a whole lot of optimism that Rodgers would make enough of an impact. I don't. Absolutely not. I mean, the thing is like, if they're like one guy away, right? I mean, if they need a quarterback or something like that, I mean, maybe, but they need so much. And it's like, even if they brought him in, we're not even talking a lot. We're talking just a year, 2. I mean, how many years are you planning on getting out of him, right? I mean, is he going to make that much of a difference? I mean, are you going to win maybe a couple more games because he's in? Yeah, quite possibly, sure, absolutely. But he's also, he's starting to get to this point. Even Tom Brady retired, right? So. He was 97 when he retired, but sooner or later you start, his last year in the pros, he was not super, he was not as good as he used to be, right? So along the line, it's going to start going downhill, right? And it's like one of those things, if you needed, if you had like everything in place, if you had everything, right? And you had a good offensive line that could protect them, you had a good running game, right? And you just need Rodgers just to, right? I mean, the 64% completion percentage is not phenomenal, but 28 touchdowns. I mean, Giant fans take 28 touchdown passes in a heartbeat, right? Only 11 interceptions, right? But as I said, especially what he's going to want as far as pay too. I mean, wow. And also got, let's see here. Is this the same one here? Most analysts believe that the Giants will double dip by adding a veteran, while also using a pick in the 2025 NFL draft on an incoming rookie. Could the veteran be Rodgers? Seth Trockman of Yardbarker believes so, as he's predicted the 41-year-old to land with Big Blue. Remains to be seen if Rodgers will retire this offseason, but he probably couldn't resist another starting opportunity in the spotlight. Giants are desperate to win now after retaining Brian Dable and Joe Shane. Rodgers couldn't even have to sell real estate to go from the Jets to the Giants. Rodgers isn't the MVP caliber quarterback he used to be in Green Bay. With that said, he would technically be an upgrade over what the Giants have had under center during the last 2 seasons. Shane would have to decide whether Rodgers would be worth losing his job over, because he probably would. Because if a move like this doesn't work out, he will certainly be looking for a new job in 2026. Yeah. No, I'm not. I don't. I think that would be a big boo boo to bring Rodgers in. Absolutely not. What I would like to see is if the Giants, I mean, even if like say, I mean, I don't want it to happen, but even if like the season bombs out, right? What's up, buddy? No, Threepeat. There is a God. But I mean, even if like Shane and Dave would get fired after this season, right? I would much rather see if they're going to spend $40 million, just say, right, on Rodgers. I would much rather have them bring in 2 free agents. I don't know who that would be, right? I mean, go out and get a top-notch corner back for $20 million and get like a top-notch offensive lineman for $20 million, right? And sign him to like a 3-year deal or something, 3-4 year deal or whatever, right? Build up the right, add another quality or a defensive stud or defensive tackle next to Sexy Dexy or something like that. They're going to spend $40 million, bring some pieces in, right? That'll be here for 3 or 4 years instead of Rodgers for like 1 or 2 years, right? Help build the team, right? I would much rather see the Giants do that with extra money, right? But we're talking about quarterbacks. Yeah, you got to throw this one out there, baby, right? They hired Matthew Stafford's brother-in-law. What? So you tell me there's a chance, huh? Well, there's a lot of, obviously speculation out there going on that the Giants might wind up. There's the Cupmeister, right? And now the thing is I'm kind of is the Cupmeister, is he in the slot a lot? I mean, don't we got like Wan'Dale Robinson? I mean, are we going to have like 13 slot receivers on the field at the same time? I'm not exactly sure here, but I know Malik Neighbors would love to see the Cupmeister on the field, right? And with Mr. Stafford, the thing is with Mr. Stafford, obviously, we need some, he's not the most mobile quarterback in the world. Need to protect him, right? But right, since we did move this here. Since we did bring in his brother-in-law, Giants' latest coaching hire fuels quarterback speculation. Ooh. Giants' latest coaching hire has garnered attention over the past 24 hours, fueling more Matthew Stafford to the New York Giants rumors. In case you missed it, February 10th, Adam Schefter. Hi, I'm Adam Schefter. Reported that the Giants are hiring former Jacksonville Jaguars and Buffalo Bills wide receiver coach Chad Hall as their assistant quarterback coach, per source. Normally, now interesting, Chad Hall as your assistant quarterbacks. Hiring former Jaguar and Bills wide receiver coach. But he's coming over here. He's the assistant quarterbacks coach. Normally, this would be the type of hire that most football fans would immediately gloss over. But an additional note from Hi, I'm Adam Schefter. I'm Shefty. How you doing? Turned some heads. Hall now reunites with his former Bills colleagues, head coach Brian Dable and general manager Joe Shane in New York. He said, adding, Hall is also the brother-in-law of current Los Angeles Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford. Very interesting. Now, does Hall's presence mean the Giants are gunning for Stafford? Not necessarily. But the rare coincidence did raise some eyebrows around New York, especially considering how quarterback-starved the Big Blue franchise has been. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Stafford, who was the winning quarterback in Super Bowl 56 in 2021. We're going to talk more about that a little later in our program, Super Bowl 56. Matter of fact, we're going to talk about the last 5 Super Bowls a little later in our program. Stafford, who was the winning quarterback, is unhappy with his Rams contract and could be made available one way or another. New York Post reported Ryan Dunleavy wrote on February 10th, if the Giants somehow attract Stafford, it changes their short-term outlook. Local radio shows like The Fans, Brandon Tierney, and Sal Licata, I think it is, also ran with this story, debating if Stafford would be a good fit for the Giants on February 11th, as did many fans on social media. Malik Neighbors started Matthew Stafford to the Giants speculations. The Stafford to the Giants rumors really began with star wide receiver Malik Neighbors ahead of the Super Bowl, as the soon-to-be second-year playmaker gushed over the veteran quarterback during an interview with the NBC Sports' Matthew Berry. Somebody, the dude can throw the ball, right? We need to keep the dude upright now, right? Because as we all know, it's becoming obviously more and more, of a mobile quarterback league. That certainly doesn't mean you can't win with somebody in the pocket, just standing there just throwing darts, right? But Matthew Stafford is not one of the, he's not the Lamar Jackson, right? Ain't happening, right? Ain't no Josh Allen where you come at him, he'll just run you, he'll throw a forearm and knock your head off or something like that. Or Lamar Jackson where you have 37 guys surrounding him and he works his way out and runs for a touchdown. You got to protect the guy. You got to keep him upright. So the Giants, for to bring him in, they better start figuring that out, because it's like, it doesn't matter. The Giants traded, not that anybody knows or cares. Giants traded for Craig Morton in 1974, got him from the Dallas Cowboys. He's a good quarterback. He's just a statue, and we couldn't keep him upright, right? So it didn't turn out very well, right? But let's see. Malik Neighbors also dropped a since-deleted cryptic X post that appeared to hint that he wanted both Stafford and the Cupmeister to join Big Blue. Let's see. For more of a will the Rams even move on perspective, Stafford's wife also opened the door for a new adventure. On her podcast the morning after on February 6th. Whoa. I love the city of Los Angeles, Kelly Stafford stated on her podcast. I love the city of LA. I love living here. With that being said, I love an adventure. I am all for it. Ooh. Continuing, a value being respected and wanted over convenience. It would be very convenient to stay in Los Angeles, very easy. But if someone doesn't feel valued, then I'm like, let's hit the road. Let's go on an adventure. Callie Stafford also noted that the most difficult part of leaving Detroit was distancing family from all their friends and loved ones. So perhaps having Hall around makes a Giants move more enticing. Aha. Let's see. Steelers and Vikings profile as Giants' top competitor. The Steelers and Vikings profile as the Giants' top competition for Rams. Right? Yeah. The Vikings? Don't they have McCarthy? So the Steelers would have to let go of Wilson and Justin Fields just to bring in, or I guess not re-sign the guys. Huh. Interesting. And that's also assuming Stafford even becomes available. Kelly Stafford made it clear that wherever her husband ends up in 2025, he wants to win, and the Steelers have displayed a long track record of winning football under head coach Mike Tomlin. Another theoretical roadblock could be the Minnesota Vikings if they were to let Sam Darnold walk in free agency. Stafford to Minnesota would presumably only be a one-year deal with the first-round pick, J.J. McCarthy, recovering from injury. Yeah, so you're going to just bring him in for 1 year. But if the Vikings called and the Rams listened, the clear Super Bowl contender would be a no-brainer of a landing spot for the veteran quarterback. Yeah, I mean, because if the Vikings could land Stafford, right, and build up a little bit more, like maybe Darnold go, McCarthy sit on the bench, and just be for 1 year now. But he'd be on a team he knows is heading in the right direction for at least have a Super Bowl chance. They can add a few pieces right in the draft. Certainly, there would be obviously a hot commodity going into the playoffs and all. They should have another good season, unless they get decimated by injuries. But not only would Stafford have a realistic shot at hoisting the Lombardi Trophy one more time in Minnesota, he'd also be playing in a dome and learning a similar offense, being that the Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell is a product of the Sean McVay trade. So, playing indoors, right? Same kind of offense. So, how old is Matthew Stafford? I don't know. Let's see. Matthew Stafford. All right, let's see what we got here. But this one here, all right, Matthew Stafford's 37. So, he just turned 37. Okay, so, just turned 37. Now, if the Giants could bring him in, let me say, hold on here. Let's check this out here. Los Angeles Rams salary cap. All right. I usually go to Spot Track because I can read it a little bit better. Matthew Stafford, cap it. $46 million is cap it. Dead cap. I said, what's this kind? What we got here? Click on it. Let me click on it. Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. Let's see. Matthew Stafford signed a 4-year, $160 million contract with the Rams. Wow. $130 million guaranteed. An average salary of $40 million. Wow. So I mean, it's just make your head spin, right? The Giants signed Daniel Jones to $40 million. That's what Matthew Stafford's getting from the Rams, $40 million. Now I said his let's see, last year. No, that was last year. This year, his cap is almost $50 million. So it's 49.6 this year in 2025. Then it goes up to 53. So I'm not exactly sure. It's one of those things. It would have to want to be in some type of a trade. Now, obviously, for what I've seen, okay, is that it's not going to have to. It's not going to be like a first or second round pick you're dishing this guy. Now, and the thing is, we would have to wind up being, to get Matthew Stafford here, it might wind up being something along the lines, maybe, possibly, how much of the money do the Rams eat compared to how much you, right? I mean, unless because he's got his money, right? I mean, as long as it's working out the way I'm thinking it's working out, because he still has 2 more years left on his contract, right? If you give them like a 3rd round pick and maybe a 4th round pick or something, the next year or something like that, maybe the Rams, I don't know, I'm just throwing out there. Maybe the Rams will eat half his contract. So you only have to pay him. Or if you give him a 3rd round and a 3rd round, maybe the Rams will eat half his contract this year or half his contract or something along. You know what I mean? So you might be, it might be, the juicier you make the draft pick, the more money the Rams might wind up eating. Who knows? But it doesn't hurt to pick the phone up and make a call, because he can certainly see where he could, you can get maybe a couple years out of him. But the thing is, you got to keep this guy upright, right? Now, the thing would be, is the Giants don't have a ton of cap space, if they sign a draft class, right? But to get him in here, that would be fantastic. Now, the thing is that the Giants do have that. They can free up probably about 40. They have like 4 or 5 guys, veterans, that they could redo structure contracts, and they could free up. And not only that, but if they let Graham Gano go, right? That's like $3 or $4 million right there. They'd save, So between cutting some guys and redoing some contracts, the Giants could free up and get another $40 or $50 million in cap space. But you have to keep this guy upright. The thing is that the Giants are kind of rebuilding, retooling, whatever you want to call it. The Giants are not in a win now mode. So if he was to come here, maybe with his brother-in-law, right? It's not. He knows for sure that he's not going to. He's not going to. Win next year, right? If he's gonna, if anything's going to happen with Matthew Stafford, right, winning here with the Giants, we're not talking for 3 years, right? Because you figure next year, if we can do a little more retooling, right? If with any luck, if Shane and Dable are still here, whatever, maybe the 2 years, maybe we can, get into the playoffs, and then maybe, we can, maybe the 3rd year, maybe be knocking on the Super Bowl door or something like that. But it's going to take at least another couple more years. We got to keep our players, keep signing the good player, keep the good players in-house, right? Like Kayvon, and right? And we got to keep adding in the draft, right? Without question. So, but if we can get Matthew Stafford here, that would at least that would simmer the, right? Because then what we can do is we got Matthew in here, right? And then we got Tommy Chicken Cutler Parmesan could be the 3rd string or whatever, right? 2nd string, whatever. You may want to make a draft a quarterback in one of the later rounds. Maybe somebody you can, somebody you think you can maybe, Dable, somebody thinks he can work with, right? But whoever that would be on the cheap. So I'll have to wait and see. But I'll tell you what, if you can get Matthew Stafford, if you could, and especially if you can get the Cupmeister in here. That too. Hold on there. No. Hold on there. How old is, let's see. Cooper. Yeah. Okay. All right, here we go. 1993. So he's 31. He'll be 32 in June. So, does he still? He's born 2017. So but I'm sure that would certainly, without question, add some excitement. Yeah, and then for at least the time being, we could dismiss the, gotta get a quarterback, right? But now, one of the things, as I said, I didn't see the Super Bowl. I'm never going to see the Super Bowl. But apparently there was a blueprint, right? And, going back to the last story, talking about Matthew Stafford, right? There's a little bit of if we could get a quarterback in here without having to spend a draft pick on a quarterback. Now, I don't know if this Mr. Carter here, Mr. Carter is going to be available at number 3. Quite possibly not. But you don't know. You don't know. But I tell you what, may not be a bad idea to keep this guy in mind. Oh, where are we at here? Nope, that's not it. Oh, there we go. All right, here we go. The familiar blueprint, Super Bowl 2025, should put in Giants' minds ahead of the NFL draft. One of the biggest winners of Super Bowl 2025 hasn't yet played a snap in the NFL. Anyone who watched, let's see, this past Super Bowl, have pushed Penn State edge rusher Abdul Carter up their mock draft. Could quite possibly be Mr. Numero Uno, right? Overreaction to the Super Bowl is a real thing inside the NFL. But seeing Carter as a top 4 prospect in the 2025 class to the favorite as number 1 now, maybe. Quarterbacks Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders aren't can't-miss prospects. Receiver cornerback Travis Hunter is a scouting unicorn, but even if he plays on both sides of the ball, there's no guarantee he will make the same impact that a premier pass rusher would. There was nothing they could do. Let's see. The Chiefs' offensive line featured 3 $72 million plus investments and another blocker who will reach that threshold in free agency next month. Might be somebody the Giants might want to pick up as well. So Mahomes still was hit 11 times and sacked a career high 6 times. In these games, head coach Andy Reid said those lines get magnified a little bit. To Williams' point, 3 pass rushers isn't enough. If you are the Giants holding the number 3 pick with Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Dexter Lawrence on the field, why not target Carter and replicate your own blueprint of overlapping Justin Tuck, Osi Umenyiora, Michael Strahan, and Jason Pierre-Paul, JPP? You can never have too many pass rushers. Never. Carter offers inside linebacker versatility, led the Big Ten with 24 tackles for loss, including 12 sacks. He has drawn comparison to Cowboys star Micah Parsons, who has 52.5 sacks as the defensive chess piece over his 4-year career. When you win on a 4-man rush and you can just cycle guys through and they are still winning, you don't have to blitz. Yeah. I mean, if you can just put 4 guys on the field, and just go get them. Let's see. The Eagles did not blitz on any of Mahomes' 42 dropbacks. According to Next Gen Stats, he still faced the 5th highest pressure rate, 38.1% of his 133-game career. Right? Didn't blitz 1 time. And he got sacked 6 times. I was just running around and they let me go crazy, edge rusher Josh Sweat said after his career-high 2.5 sacks. The risk highlighting irony of any team choosing Carter over Ward or Sanders is that a pass rusher went number 1 overall in Mahomes' draft class. Myles Garrett. the future Hall of Famer. But the Browns surely would pick Mahomes, who slipped to number 10 after quarterback bust Mitch Trubisky on a do-over. Yep. Carter's first step quickness should translate, but a quarterback needy team is a subject to ridicule if Ward or Sanders pans out. In order to make a team blitz, you have to be able to beat what they're showing, Mahomes said. That's what we didn't do. Williams has said that players were all free agents whose value might have been boosted by Super Bowl. The same goes for a soon-to-be rookie. So, the blueprint, right? As I said, I mean, it was the way it was. If you go back to like LT's days, right? Joe Theismann said, he said either 5 or 5. He might even said 5.5 guys. He said if you rush 3 guys and send Lawrence Taylor, he said it was like sending like 5 or 5.5 guys, because Lawrence Taylor just made it that much more. You know what I mean? It was just that much. You know what I mean? But when you can just send 4 guys, and just and the guys are just all crazy good, and you can get hit home with those guys. I mean, it's special. I mean, it makes it so much easier for the guys in the back. Not that the Eagles have bad guys in the back, but I mean, it's just if you can just unload. I mean, the way they were, it was 2 years ago when the Philadelphia Void years, when they went to the Super Bowl, and that was a closer game. But that year, the Void years, they had they had all those sacks. They had like, I forgot what it was, 5 guys had like double-digit sacks or something. I mean, it was just crazy. They were bringing guys in off the bench that double-digit sacks. It was just crazy. I mean, so it's a blueprint, good blueprint. So it might be something, something to think about. I mean, especially if the Giants, are not totally sold on Ward or Sanders, right? Either him or the defensive lineman from Michigan, right? He's a good disruptor too. So may not be a bad idea. To keep that in mind. So just a little bit of a blueprint there. Once again, you can never ever have too many pass rushers. And speaking of pass rushers, I'll tell you what, boy, Mr. Toomer here. Boy, he went off. Looking like poop, he said. Monty Timmer goes off, and he was also, I believe he was talking too about, I don't know, I am really, totally just wanted to upchuck my cookies, boy. I'll tell you what. Michael Strahan waving that flag. I mean, waving the Philadelphia Void Years flag. I mean, dude, I don't, yeah. Saquon made him do it. I mean, then I'm not doing it, dude. I love you, man. This, that. I'm not waving that flag. But it just goes to show you how quickly, Saquon just jumping ship there. Right, so Saquon doesn't want to be a Giant. Well, go after yourself, buddy. But no, I'm not waving that flag. That might be you, brother, but that ain't me. I don't know how Michael Strahan. I mean, there's you can talk respectively about another team or this, that, don't have to trash talk them or something like that. But waving their flag, yeah, really, yeah, wow. Man, you're classless turd to me, brother. Michael Strahan, absolutely classless. Absolutely classless. I thought you really, I thought you were a Giant. True Giants ain't going to do that. I mean, I said Saquon. We know he's a, he doesn't want to be a Giant. So whatever happened to him, whatever, But Michael Strahan waving the Eagles flag. Wow. Pretty bad. But Monty Toomer. Giants legend Monty Toomer sounds off in a brutal rant. The Giants were among the worst teams in the football in 2024. Former Giants receiver Monty Toomer is tired of the uncompetitive football. Giants spent much of the 2024 season getting blown out or otherwise overlooked. Fodder for teams with higher aspirations. The prior season set the tone, but general manager Joe Shane and head coach Brian Daboll decided to back Daniel Jones, banking on a resurgence to climb back into relevance. It didn't come. Jones was dreadful for half the season, benched, cut, and then replaced by similarly ineffective passers. New York endured a 10-game losing streak, finished 3-14, and ultimately disappointed its esteemed icons that once made the organization great. On ESPN Radio, Giants legend Monty Toomer sounded off on the state of affairs in a brutal rant, reacting to Michael Strahan waving the Philadelphia Voyageurs flag in support of running back Saquon Barkley. Toomer ripped New York. That's a shot across the bow, Toomer began. Because you know what? When we played, if we didn't perform, we'd be out, right? So now when players, I'm not just going to be your fan because I played there. You got to prove something to us. While Eli Manning and Victor Cruz have supported both Barkley and the Giants as they watched their rival win the Super Bowl, others have directed more energy toward criticizing the organization, and justifiably so. We are Giants through and through, Toomer continued. But you can't just say, oh, yeah, you're a Giant. You just shut up and sit in the corner. No, we want results. We want to be proud of the organization that we shed blood, sweat, and tears for. So we're not going to wave the pom-poms if we don't feel like it's a product worth waving the pom-poms for. When is the last time that we can sit back and be like, yeah, we're Giant fans, and say it with our chests out instead of saying it and then kicking some dirt and then giving some excuse and then showing our rabbit's foot? We might be, and this shoulda, coulda, woulda, maybe we're tired of it. Only 3 teams have had a lesser point differential than New York's minus 142. No team threw fewer touchdowns, and it was hard to find a team that had a more embarrassing season. No, this was the most embarrassing season. Absolutely. Let's see. As we stumbled over itself as a quarterback drama, the hot seats and the ugly losses mounted. I don't know who's listening or whatever, but if we're going to playing and we were performing like our team is performing now, out there on the field looking like poop, we'd be off the team, Toomer said. That's why we're holding them accountable. Like they held us accountable for 13 of my years and for 16 or 15 of Strahan's years. So don't be mad at that. For Toomer, a Super Bowl champion and maybe of the team's Ring of Honor, this is a matter of accountability. The standard has fallen, and the current regime is sticking around more for the sake of continuity than the proof of concept they put forth. Giants team is far as ever from the kind of meaningful football Toomer and his teammates have grown used to. Don't let the anger fall away from where it should be, which should be with what we're doing as the Giants, and how we're not being competitive. That's where the anger should be. It's very, 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 just really freaking difficult. Really. Let's see here. Yeah. Good old Amani. It's really, really difficult. You just go back. We had the one season, 2016, right? Things just fell in line right there with McAdoo and all that and everything. But 2017, and then you had the 18 and 19 with Shermer, and 2021, 22. We had things came together, but these last 2 seasons, it's just. Then you figure that the few years with Coughlin there. It's just been. We've had some good players, right? But it's just far from anything, as he's talking about, right? Far from being, anything competitive, anything you can push your chest out at. I mean, there's almost like nothing we do good. It's almost, it's like, I guess you could say this, like, if we were just a little weak on defense, I'm sorry, a little weak on offense, but we had a great defense. Our defense smacked you around, right? Got turnovers and sacks and this, and we played tough and really, we were a little weak on offense. Or we could throw the ball all over the field, but we were a little bad on defense. But that's like it's like nothing. It's like almost like every year. It's just trash every year. Can't get the offensive line fixed. Can't get good quarterback play. It's just, there's almost like nothing is what Monty Toon was talking about to puff the chest out about. You know what I'm saying? It's just, my God. Another year, right? Will anything ever turn around? And it's been a long, ever since we won that Super Bowl after the 2011 season, boy, it's from 2012 to 2024. Been a long time. A lot of bad football. But speaking of bad, yeah, this might be partly the reason why what kept Saquon away from the Giants. Interesting. There's been obviously a lot of reports, right, out there as far as the safety of grass, right, compared to turf, and supposedly certain turfs are better than others and all that and everything. But I'll tell you what, if you ever listen to some of these players talk, I'll tell you what, boy, there's not one out there, I mean, that talks highly at all about MetLife Stadium, about the turf, MetLife Stadium. I mean, there's it was, I think it was 2020. Was it 2020? Let me see. Check out 2020 New York Giants here. 2020 New York Giants. This is when they played this is when the San Francisco 49ers played back-to-back games at MetLife Stadium. They lost half their team in the first game when they played the Jets. Yeah. So I guess it was remember we lost the opening day game to the Steelers. I was like, oh my God. Daniel Jones, I can remember the game against the Steelers. Daniel Jones sprints out to his left. He's like looking, and he's looking. I can't remember the name of the Steeler who came and hit him. Ball flies up in the air, and Cameron Hayward intercepts it. We're down at like the 2-3 yard line, and Daniel Jones is pumping and looking, and the dude is running. He's like looking this way, and the dude's like right here, coming at him. Daniel Jones is looking and kind of like this, and the dude's running at him. I mean, he's got to see him, and Daniel Jones is still like holding. Wait, he's almost like waiting for the dude to hit him, and the ball pops up in the air, and Cameron Hayward, the defensive tackle, intercepts the ball in the air. It just anyway. Apparently, I guess the second week of the season, the 49ers came and they played the Jets at MetLife Stadium, and then I think they stayed around 36-9. That's what the frick the score was. Oh my God, 36-9. But so the Giants played actually the 49ers beat the Jets in week 2 of the 2020 season. Then they stayed around and they played the Giants the following week in MetLife Stadium. And Nick Bosa got injured against the Jets. His season was over. The 49ers lost like 2 or 3 other guys for the season was over because of MetLife, the turf. Garoppolo was injured. So basically the 49ers had like a bunch of like 37 string players play the Giants, and they still beat the Giants. It was a 36-9, I think I just said. We're playing like 315th string players against our starters, and we lost at home 36-9. But anyway, I mean, Mekhi Becton said the same thing. I think he said everything about the stadium stinks. I know Jason Kelsey. He says the turf is just horrible. Travis Kelsey says the same thing. I mean, there's nobody says anything good. I mean, remember Sterling Shepard? Remember a few years back, right? Maybe he was just running. It was, the play was a run play. It was against the Cowboys, right? Remember that one? It was a run play or something, and he was just like jogging down. I mean, the play was like all the way on the other side of the field. He just jogging, and all of a sudden he just jumps up and just pulling it. He's old and his season's over. It's like, what happened? It's just unbelievable. Now, do I have? I had something up here. Nope. Oh, there we go. All right, there we go. Now, the last time, let's see, the Eagles. Well, actually, let me go this season here. All right, I just got to show you. Now, the Eagles play on grass. The Giants obviously play on turf, right? So now the Giants, I counted this. Let me count it again here just to make sure. That's 35, the 6, the 7, the 8, the 9, 40, 1 for 2, 50, 1, 2, 3. Giants had 57 guys. 57. And this is only in 17 games. Whoops. Okay, let me get this here. All right. 57 guys we had. All right, here we go. Go. In 17 games, having some type of injury designation. 57 guys the Giants had with an injury designation throughout the course of the 17 weeks. They also had, I forgot, it was 20. Let me count this again here. How many guys we had injured reserve? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. Giants had 28 players on injury reserve. 28. 17 games throughout the course of the season. 28. 57 and 28. The Eagles, and this is when they played 4 more games. They played 21 games. The Eagles, let's see. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. 6, 8, 9, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 37. The Eagles only had 37 guys. 37 guys all season long with injury designation. And 4 of those guys were the game against the Giants, like Saquon, Jalen Carter. I can't remember. There's 4 guys. The only injury designation that they had was the game against the Giants. They got put down as doubtful. They could have played. So as far as I'm concerned, those guys weren't even injured. They put some kind of bogus injury kind of thing in there, so I guess they didn't play. Right? If they needed that game, those players could have played. So really, to me, the Eagles played 21 games only had 33 players, 33 with injury designation. Giants played 17 games, had 57 guys injured. And I said we had what, 28 on injured reserve? 28. How many do the Eagles have here? I know the Eagles obviously had far less than that. Let's see, we got to move it over here. There we go. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. They had 17 guys. 17 guys on it, and they played 4 more games, and they had 11 less guys put on injury reserve than the Giants, and they played 4 more games. Yeah, that's this season. I mean, because once again, you have to be lucky with the injuries, right, to make it to the Super Bowl. If you're decimated, that's one of the reasons why the Lions, their defense was really decimated by injuries, totally decimated by injuries. But if we go back to another one of the things I want to look at is the other year that the Philadelphia Void Years, so I'm going to start calling them, won their Super Bowl, was the 2017 season. All right, let's see what they got here. Injuries. They had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 28, 29, 30. They had 31 guys injured. And that includes the Super Bowl. Then they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They had 12 guys on injury, 12 on injury reserve. Said like the injuries were like nothing. Now, if we go back to the Giants in 2017, let's see. I mean, also it was a horrible season for the Giants. I wonder how the Giants were injury. I mean, it just goes to show you. I mean, yeah. If you stay healthy, you give yourself a chance. If you get injured, yeah, same thing here. I mean, the Giants didn't make it to the playoffs. 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 55. We had like twice as many players on injury designations as the Eagles did. Twice as many. And we played 4 less games because the Eagles played with 3 less games. Whatever, because the Eagles went to the Super Bowl that year. Let's see, what did the Eagles play 3 less? Or what was it? What did they play? They played 3. They played 3 more games. They played 3 more games, and we still had twice as many injuries. Now the Giants that season had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 2017. This is the last time the Philadelphia Void Years won the Super Bowl. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. 32 guys on injury reserve. 32 during the course of the season. I wonder if that's one of the reasons, right? Well, when Saquon Barkley got injured the one time against the Bears, that was on grass, right? So, but you kind of wondering if some of that had to do with the turf or not. Very, very interesting. But you'll notice, and it'll be the same thing next year, and the same thing after that, and the same thing after that, the same thing. How can you possibly think that it's going to get any better? You play on a crappy field, crappy turf. The Eagles play on grass, Every year, the Eagles have 20 to 30 less players injured. Every year, you have almost twice as many guys going on injury reserve. How can you possibly think next year we're going to get another 50 or 60 guys with injury designation? We're going to get another 25 to 30 guys on injury reserve. How do you think right? And meanwhile, they're playing on grass. I mean, because if you're with Philadelphia, they're guaranteed that more than half their games is on grass. With the Giants, they're guaranteed that more than half their games are played on turf. Every year. Every year. The Giants have like 20 more guys with injury designations than the Eagles. And the Eagles go to the playoffs every year. So the Eagles are playing 1, 2, 3 this year, 4 more games than the Giants. And the Giants still had 20 more guys with injury designations than the Eagles. That one of the, I wonder if that was one of the things that kept saying, because kept had Saquon going to help going to the. I mean, there was many things. Obviously, the offensive line. He's from. I guess he went to school at Penn State, obviously, and all of that. But I was kind of wondering if that had anything to do with it. Now the thing is that what Mr. Maurer was talking about was that he was. It's almost impossible to have, because when the Giants had grass from 2001 to 2002, or was it 2000 to 2003? One of those two. The grass just did not do very well. That natural grass just did not do very well because there was always somebody playing. Like sometimes you had maybe 2 teams playing, or the Giants and Jets played on the same week. Right? It was always getting chewed up, and it never gave a good chance to repair itself and all that. So there was there's always that problem. And Mr. Maurer was kind of talking about maybe sometime maybe getting maybe grass, but it'd have to be it can't be trying to put grass in a 2-team stadium. It's very, very difficult. Now with Philadelphia plays, right? They're the only professional team that plays there, right? Maybe there's if there's ever a point in time, maybe where the Giants and Jets get their separate stadiums, right? Maybe, they can get grass going back in there again. Grass is cheaper to grow, right? But it's more costly, obviously, to maintain than artificial turf. The artificial turf, it's the big bucks initially, but after that, it's not that much to upkeep on it. But the mowing of the grass, the fertilize, the watering of the grass, that adds up. But how can you go in every year? You know how many injuries you're going to get. Just about. Look at the past. What do you think? Next year's going to be better? Are you kidding me? Are you that stupid? You guaranteed 25 to 30 guys on injury reserve next year. Guaranteed. Look at the history. We're going to have 50 to 60 guys with injury designations next season. Guaranteed. Look at the history. What do you think? Things are going to get better? How are you supposed to try to win a Super Bowl when like 55 guys get injury designation? That's a whole team injury designation. Meanwhile, Philadelphia plays 21 games and they only got like 30 guys with injury designations. We play 17 and we have 55 to 60 guys with injury designations. It's crazy. Simply crazy. It really is. It is crazy. And talking about crazy, oh my God. This is unbelievable. I mean, it just goes to show you. I mean, it's like how Giants first round picks have been involved in winning the last 5. Not just the last 5 Super Bowls. No, they've been on the winning team in in the last 5 Super Bowls. I mean, what? Unbelievable. It really, really is unbelievable. All right, where we got there? I got somebody. Nope. 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 Is this it? Nope. All right, we go. All right. I mean, this is just some crazy stuff, man. I'll tell you. I don't know. Yeah, I just. Sign you guys, right? Develop you guys, keep you guys. No, that's just not the Giants' way, right? Just draft you guys in the first round and just let them go, right? Let them go win a Super Bowl. Gotta love it. So former Giant players, former Giants first round picks have won a Super Bowl 5 years in a row. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Let's see. Some of the players may be more glorified than others, but here's how the past 5 Super Bowls have played out for some of the Giants' top picks. Now, of course, we got, right, JPP, right, with the Buccaneers, right, when they beat the Kansas City Chiefs, right? I mean, that was kind of the same way. I mean, I didn't see this Super Bowl. I did see this one, and that was just a horrible Super Bowl because I know that Patrick. I know one of their tackles was. I think maybe both their tackles were out for the Chiefs, and they had a good pass rush, had a really good defense, and obviously they had Tom Brady, and Mahomes was just running for his life. He couldn't get anything going. Right, that was just an absolutely horrible Super Bowl, horrible. But that was JPP. He was in that one, right? See, Tampa Bay won 31-9. He was selected obviously first round by the Giants in the 2010 draft. He was selected 15th overall. JPP recorded 3 solo tackles and 1 pass defense in Tampa Bay's victory. Of course, you got OBJ, right? Let's see, when they beat the Bengals, of course, he wasn't playing. He did play. Let's see, because he got injured. He played some of the game, but then he got injured. He was obviously in 2014 draft. He was selected number 12 overall by the Giants. That's when the Rams beat the Bengals 23-20. Let's see. Of course, in that game, right, he beat that one. We had 2 guys, right? If you want to look in that Super Bowl, because we had what, Eli Apple, right? First round pick, 2016. First round pick. It was on the Bengals team. So we had OBJ from 2014, our first round pick. Went up against Eli Apple, our first round pick from 2016. So we had 2 first round picks for the Giants in playing in the Super Bowl. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Beckham caught 2 passes for 52 yards and 1 touchdown, but he left the game early after the suffering, unfortunately, his torn ACL. It was non-contact. He just went across the middle. Came down on turf, right? Stupid turf, right? And of course, then we're going to talk more about this moron in a little bit. Kadarius Toney, because he was not this Super Bowl, but the past 2 Super Bowls, the 2 Super Bowls that the Chiefs won, right? Let's see. When they won 38-35, he was selected, obviously, number 20 overall by the Giants in the 2021 draft after we made the trade with the Bears. Without Kadarius Toney, the Chiefs don't win the Super Bowl. Not only did he have a 5-yard touchdown reception, he returned 2 punts for 77 yards, including a key 65-yard return that remains the longest punt return in Super Bowl history. Then, of course, when they beat last year, when they beat the 49ers in overtime, 25-22, Kadarius Toney was on the team. Although Kadarius Toney was on the Chiefs 53-man roster, he was listed among the team's 6 inactives for the game, so he did not participate. But apparently, I guess because he was on the 53-man roster, so I guess the moron wind up getting a Super Bowl ring. Okay, and then we know about what happened this last Super Bowl a few days ago. So it's simply amazing. I said even think about it, right? The one where the Rams with OBJ, our 2014 first round pick, right, where they beat the Bengals, had Eli Apple, our 2016 first round pick, in there. So one of the Super Bowls we had 2 of our first round picks. So either team won would have been. I mean, it's unbelievable. The past 5 Super Bowls, we've had one of our first round picks win, not only be on the field for either team, but just win. They won. I mean, oh my God! I mean, it really is. It's like it's an absolute embarrassment, and you wonder why teams make fun of us, right? Just right. And Philadelphia wouldn't have won their Super Bowl if it wasn't Saquon. They probably wouldn't have been in the Super Bowl. We gave them their second Super Bowl victory. Almost plain and simple. Unbelievable. Simply amazing. I mean, how embarrassing is that? Right? But speaking of embarrassment, I got something there on there. I got. Oh, there we go. But amazingly as that is, this season actually could have been worse. If you think about it, actually could have been even more embarrassing. I mean, now just straight up play like this. I mean, this just epitomizes the whole Giants from 2012 on, right here. I mean, how often do you really see a guy, right, wide in the open, nobody within like 300 yards of him, just running, falls down? I mean, it's just an absolute freaking joke. Absolute joke. Basically, that's the Giants in a nutshell right there. But I mean, the season, not so much could have been worse, maybe more wins and losses, because we certainly could have. There's quite a few games there we certainly could have won without question. I mean, the first game against the Commanders, if we had a kicker, I mean, how often does a team wind up going through a game really and don't have a kicker? Don't happen very often. Well, of course, that happened to the Giants this year. If we had a kicker, we probably might have won that game. So there was a lot of games we could have won. A lot more games we could have won. I'm just talking about this season actually could have been worse. Could have been meaning more embarrassing, right? I mean, it's obviously with the Saquon Barkley and all, but the first was the first game here, right, when he Nick Sirianni, right, went on I guess Nick was mic'd up, and he went there. He's talking to Saquon on the sideline, and he said, I think he said it was like 13 yards away. I think it was from his all-time career best. I think it was, right. And I think Saquon didn't want nothing to do with it. Let me see. Let me just make sure here. I think that was the game. It was up here. But then the other one was too is that what would have been obviously more embarrassing was the final game of the season, right? Because Saquon only needed so many. Hold on a second. I do apologize. Saquon only needed so many yards to there we are. Obviously to break Eric Dickerson's single season. See what it was here. Let me see in that box score. All right, where are we at here? All right, we got Saquon. Yeah. No, so he finished. Saquon, he finished with 176 yards, which I guess was like 13 yards short, I think it was, or something like that, of his all-time best at that particular point in time. And Saquon, didn't want to, didn't go back in the game. I think it was he averaged. What the heck was it? He had what did he have? He had 17 carries for 176 yards. He averaged 10 yards a carry, almost 10 and a half yards a carry against the Giants. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, if Saquon went back in the game, Saquon, his one game comeback at MetLife Stadium against the Giants could have had over 200 yards rushing against his former team. It was just running up, and it was just absolute total matter, but that didn't happen. I mean, as bad as it was, 170, averaged 70, he only carried the ball 17 times, and he got 176 yards, averaged almost 10 and a half yards a carry. Unbelievable. Absolutely, just a total embarrassment. But said Saquon, if he went back in the game, could have had over 200 yards against in his return to MetLife Stadium, right? When the Eagles were going to try to do as much as they could to possibly, get him as many yards as possible and this, that, and we couldn't stop him. Absolutely embarrassing. But as bad as the 176 yards was that he got, it could have been even worse. He could have had over 200. I mean, right? But then the other thing is that, this, to me, this makes the most sense, but he was only so many yards short of Eric Dickerson's at the final game of the season, right? Would have been at home on grass against who else? The Giants, without Sexy Dexy. We were ripe for giving up, all kinds of rushing yards in that game. Final game of the season. But, Nick Sirianni, gave some of the guys, Saquon being one of them, because he had, oh my God. How many carries did he have in a season? What did he have here? Say 345 carries. He never even had 300 with the Giants. He had 345. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. She had 345, and what do you have here? 43 targets, 33 receptions. So he had almost 380 touches. Wow. And that doesn't even include the playoffs. So he had over 400 touches. Wow. Heck, he might have had even 500 touches. Wow. 450 touches? Wow. Damn. That's a lot. That's wear and tear on the body. But anyway, said the final game of the season, right? And as I said, Sirianni wanted to rest some of his players, and Saquon was one of them. 345 touches in 16 games. The guy has 645 carries. That doesn't include his 33 receptions. 345. Wow. That's a lot. A lot of wear and tear on his body. So, anyway, but, I mean, without question, if he put the starters in there against our defense in that game, man, I mean, we would have been just totally annihilated. Totally. I mean, Saquon could have easily gotten 200 yards rushing in that game. I mean, not only would he have broken Eric Dickerson's record, he would have blown it out of the water. He might have had 2,200 yards, over 2,200 yards rushing. I mean, by the end of he would have, embarrassing that would have been. I mean, it's hard, it's unbelievably embarrassing as it is right now. What happened? But it could have been even worse. I mean, the two games against the Giants. I mean, the one he could have had over 200 yards rushing in the return to MetLife Stadium, and then the final game of the season against his former team, he could have totally obliterated Eric Dickerson's single season rushing record, blown it out of the water. Now, he would have blown it out of the water, but would always had the little asterisks there, because he would have played in 17 games. Eric Dickerson only did it in 16. So Eric Dickerson still 16-game schedule, right? Still has the record without question. But to me, so it would always be the juice, baby, right? Because the juice had over 2,000 yards in only 14 games. So I don't care what Saquon does. I don't care what Eric Dickerson did. Care less. I don't. I think the juice is an absolute. He's gone, but he was an absolute piece of human trash. But he did it in 14 games, and to me, that'll always be the record, without question. The tackling rules that they had back then, and stuff like that. Stuff they don't have nowadays and all that, the pansy league that it is nowadays compared to the way it was back then, the juice, it will always reign supreme, in my opinion anyway. But I mean, as bad as it was, this season could have been absolutely more embarrassing for the New York Giants. Is that's possible? As I say, could you literally imagine, right? If Saquon Barkley, blew away Eric Dickerson's single season rushing mark. And he did it against the Giants in the final game of the season. I mean, how unbelievable. And if the Eagles put all the players out there and they just kept grinding the ball with Saquon, he could have easily, I'm sure, had 200 yards rushing. Easily, without question. So, as bad as embarrassing as last season was for the New York Giants, still could have been even worse. But, so let's talk about something on the good side here, shall we? Now, John Madden didn't say this. He said, if you ever listen to the 1986 divisional round playoff game, the Giants against the 49ers. Giants won 49-3. John Madden said it multiple times, said at least twice. And let's not forget, right? In 1986, the Giants and 49ers in a playoff game. Jerry Rice was on the field. Joe Montana was on the field, right? Ronnie Lott was on the field. Some guy by the name of Lawrence Taylor was on the field. Harry Carson was on the field, right? But some guy, who's not in the Hall of Fame, who was on the field, was said by Mr. Madden at least two times, at least twice. I think Carl Banks is the best player on the field, and he was. He was. They could not run the ball at him. That man set an edge. Let me tell you what. You come on the out. You ran his way. You were not getting to the outside. It was not happening. Unlike today's, I don't know what the heck. I don't even know. The crap they run, I don't, setting edges and stuff like that. I don't know. Some of that almost like a lost art, but you couldn't get around him. And then it followed up, right, in the Super Bowl. He was the best player on the field in the Super Bowl, except for Phil Simms. Super Bowl MVP with it was passing performance. But other than that, Carl Banks was the best player on the field that day, not question. Now, Banks doesn't have the gaudy numbers like the All Pros, right, the Pro Bowls and all that stuff. But somehow, 1987, his only Pro Bowl and his only All Pro. That was it, 1987. But somehow, he made the All-Decade team, 1980s All-Decade team. Unfortunately, he's one of those guys, and there's tons of guys that you can go through, right, who are really good players and this, that, and the other thing, who just don't quite have the All-Pros or those gaudy Pro Bowl numbers and stuff like that. That's one of the reasons that's keeping him out of the Hall of Fame, right? He's got 2 Super Bowl rings and everything like that. And they said Super Bowl 21, he was the best player on the field except for Phil Simms. But, some NFL greats recall dominant run defense of the Giants linebacker Carl Banks. And he was. Now, I'll tell you what, it's kind of funny. It is kind of funny when you listen to some of these guys, and they pay tribute to him, and they're even talking. I'll talk. There we go. Hold on. When recalling the great defense of the Giants, New York Giants back in the Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick era, the first name that rolls off the tongue is their legendary linebacker Lawrence Taylor. Other players who get recognition are Hall of Fame linebacker Harry Carson and dominating defensive end Leonard Marshall. But Carl Banks, he was good too. Correction, Banks was better than good. The low-key Banks, the 3rd overall selection by the Giants in the 1984 NFL Draft, was one of the best outside linebackers of his era. To this day, many NFL historians and former players recount just how good Banks was in Taylor's shadow. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Baldy once told me that Banks was one of the best outside linebackers against the run he played against, and that team's game plan to run away from him. Yes, even with Lawrence Taylor on the other side. The Baldy, obviously referred to here, is Brian Baldinger, former offensive lineman who played for the Cowboys, the Colts, and the Bills and the Eagles in the 80s and the early 90s. That's where Banks played. And remember, that's right, we played with the Cowboys and he played the Eagles. He played against Banks twice a year. Baldinger, now an NFL Network analyst, is well respected for his analysis, and as a contemporary of his, can confidently say his first-hand accounts of Banks' play are dead on. Banks, now a game day radio voice during Giants games, along with Bob Papa, has garnered many an accolade over the years. Papa tweeted out that the great Hall of Fame offensive tackle Anthony Munoz. Now, Anthony Munoz, let me tell you what, special. Anthony Munoz once told him that Banks told me the same thing about Banks that Baldinger had claimed regarding teams running away from Banks. Banks is a member of the Giants Ring of Honor and was named the NFL's All-Decade Team of the 80s. He was an All-Pro selection in 87. Pro Bowl and All Pro, 87. That was it. No other All Pros, no nothing. But he was on the All Decades team now. Banks was a legend in college at Michigan State, where he was a 3-time All Big Ten selection. He was inducted into the Michigan Sports Hall of Fame in 2011 and the MSU Athletic Hall of Fame in 2012. Banks was a semifinalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2020. But didn't make it. I said he doesn't have quite the gaudy numbers. the best pair of outside linebackers in the NFL in the 80s was, was Taylor and Banks. They both made the Pro Bowl and named All Pro in '87. Banks, there's a right here. There's a video showing. I don't know if we're going to play or not. Showing Banks stuffed Herschel to tackle Dorsett for a loss, and 3 plays later, LT snagged a pick out of the nowhere. Yep. That's it. It shows you on the play that it's just incredible that the Cowboys at the one time had Herschel Walker and Tony Dorsett in the backfield. Just crazy, right? But it just goes to show you that on the one play, Banks came crashing in. He took on. He went down low. Herschel went kind of high. Banks went low on Herschel and took Herschel off his feet. And then he kind of went in and was able to. And he's far enough into the backfield, but Tony Dorsett wound up tripping over him and went down for a tackle. So, Banks was really good. Now, one of the things is a lot of times, Banks didn't so much get a lot of, he wasn't as good as a pass rusher as Lawrence Taylor was. He didn't get anywhere near the gaudy numbers at LT because Banks was in coverage a lot, right? If you have a chance, if you got the Russian 3 defensive linemen, right, and Lawrence Taylor, that's why you didn't have to blitz a lot because you got Lawrence Taylor. You're blitzing Lawrence Taylor in his prime. It's like what Joe Theismann said. It's like if you got 3 guys rushing and Lawrence Taylor, that's like sending 5 guys. Really it is, right? So there was no need to blitz other guys. So a lot of times, you send in Lawrence Taylor, right? So a lot of times Carl Banks was in, dropped in coverage, right? So he didn't have a lot of those gaudy sack numbers on it, But I'll tell you what, as far as setting the edge and all stuff, it was just, he was really, really good. They said, his numbers weren't that gaudy, super spectacular as other guys and all, but boy, he was really, really good. He was really, really good. And it's really nice to hear some of the guys, some of the old time guys, really, they're talking about like Anthony Munoz. Who's one of the absolute best tackles, period, in the history of the NFL. Talking about, they could have been, they were quite possibly talking about the 85 game because the Bengals played the Giants in 85. That was the game that Phil Simms threw for 513 yards, and the Giants, of course, still lost. Giants had like over 500 yards of offense. The Bengals had like 200 yards of offense, and the Giants still lost 35 because I don't know if there's I can't remember if there was like a pick 6 one where they ran a kickoff back for a fumble. But it was just everything went the Bengals' way. But Phil Simms had over 500 yards passing in that game, and the Giants still wound up losing 35-31. So that might have been the one game that Munoz was talking about when they were going up against Taylor and Banks, right? But they were talking about with Munoz, they were talking about maybe possibly not running at Banks' side and running maybe more toward Lawrence Taylor's side because Banks was maybe maybe a little superior at setting the edge or whatever than Taylor was. Then maybe they were almost kind of thinking, well, maybe do we want to run at Banks or do we want to run at Taylor? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think we want to run at Banks. Let's maybe try. As crazy as that sounds, right? Let's run away from Banks. Let's run at Taylor. There's also some of it, too, is that if you don't run at Taylor, see, the thing is with Taylor, right, is that, it makes some sense, though, too. Because if you're running at Taylor, you know where he's at, and you're sending people there, and you're hitting them. You try to slow him down, tire him out, whatever, wear him down, right, by running at him. If you're running at Banks, you're not blocking Taylor, right? And Taylor is going to be faster than almost anybody on the field. So he can come in the backfield and catch guys from behind and stuff like that. So it almost behooved the offense just to run at Taylor, right? Just to send bodies at him and just try to hit him and knock him down and tire him out, wear him down, right? So that's why maybe some teams ran away from Banks and tried to run at Taylor, just try to wear Taylor down. But, also some of it, too, was just, Banks was a lot better. Maybe not a lot better, but I'm saying Banks was a very good run defender. Very, very good run defender. So, but, when you got Banks, you got Taylor, and you got Harry Carson as like linebackers. It's almost like pick your poison. Do you want to run this way at Taylor? Do you want to run this way at Banks? You want to run up the middle at Harry Carson? Like, pick your poison, right? Good luck. I'll tell you what, we were blessed with some really good linebacker play. I can tell you that much here. All right, hold on here. Yes. I think I went over everything here. All right, here we go. This is the last one here. I do believe, right? My goodness, I tell you what, it's how do you spell moron? Well, my book, it's Toney. That's how you spell moron. Straight up, 100% bona fide moron. And it's a shame because you can't tell this guy anything. You can't tell him nothing. It is just absolutely unbelievable. And it's probably not, obviously maybe as bad as it is, or he's maybe not as bad as a human being as his things. It just, I don't know, maybe his upbringing, who he hangs out with. But he ain't going to listen to nobody. There's maybe a small percentage of the population that maybe can get into his head and maybe change his ways, tell him he's doing stuff wrong. He needs to, he needs to act differently. But he ain't going to listen to nothing I got to say. But I'll tell you what, this guy's apparently got arrested. That's what. Let's see here. Some reports say here. Just got arrested. Oh, pop up. Here we go. Okay. Giants draft bust. Kadarius Toney arrested in disturbing Georgia incident. Jeez. Kadarius Toney was arrested last week for allegedly putting his hands around a woman's throat during a January dispute. Wow. Court documents viewed by the Post state that former Chiefs wideout and Giants draftee squeezing the woman's neck with enough force to cause her to be unable to breathe, leave red marks on her neck, and cause hemorrhaging in her eyes during a January 14th incident in Douglasville, Georgia. Toney also allegedly attempting to keep her from dialing 911 by taking the victim's phone. Warrants for obstructing, harassing 911 calls and aggravated assault, strangulation were issued on January 15, and Toney was arrested on February 6 by Douglas County officials. Unbelievable. Oh. Let's see what else we got here. Anything? Police records show that the 26-year-old's bond was set at $25,000, according to the Douglas County records. He was not in custody on January 7th. The alleged incident came not long after the Browns waived the receiver following a 15-yard penalty for taunting after a punt return and a muffed punt in a December 8th game against the Steelers, a loss that officially eliminated Cleveland from playoff contention. The team released the low-life loser 2 days later. Giants selected the speedy Toney in the first round of the 2021 draft, though his His time with Big Blue was marred by injuries and multiple on and off the field incidents over 2 seasons. Those issues followed him to Kansas City in October 2022 trade. Despite being part of 2 Super Bowl winning Chiefs teams, injuries, inconsistent play, and accusations of Kansas City playing games with his health status resulted in franchise releasing him before the 2024 season. He signed on with the Browns as a practice squad player, but his 3 games on the active roster were enough for Cleveland. In 33 NFL games over 5 seasons, Tony's posted 760 yards, 82 catches with 3 touchdowns, adding 112 rushing yards on 22 carries and scored 1 via the ground. And then I got, let's see here. Kadarius Toney arrested. Former Giants receiver was arrested for allegedly strangling a woman. Toney allegedly assaulted the woman on January 14th at a Georgia residence. He was accused of exerting enough pressure on the woman's throat to leave her struggling to breathe, and according to police records obtained by TMZ Sports, leave red marks on the woman's neck and hemorrhaging in her eyes. The receiver was also alleged to have taken the woman's phone away, preventing her from calling for help. What a freaking moron. Toney was the first-round pick by the Giants. Yeah, we know that. The receiver struggled to fit into the New York market, picking fights with media and fans alike during his short time with the team. General manager Joe Schoen traded him to the Chiefs after Schoen and head coach Brian Daboll had had enough of Toney's drama. Toney's last played for Cleveland Browns in 2024, appearing in 3 games. I mean, just unbelievable, It's, unfortunately, he's not, he is small population, very small population of people who listen to. Obviously, he ain't going to listen to nothing I got to say. He'll just laugh at me. Or he'll laugh at 99%. That was his upbringing. I don't know. Obviously, a lot of people he's hanging around with are just not the. But one of the things is, also that Coach Prime's got to say, right? A lot of time he said, if you're in a room and you're the smartest man in the room, you're in the wrong room. If you're in a room and you're the most successful man in the room, you're in the wrong room. If you're in a room and you're in the room and you have more money than anybody else in the room, you're in the wrong room and stuff like, you want to be in a room, you want to be associated with people that are better than you, right? In certain degrees or whatever like that. The way you're always learning, right? Learn how to be successful, how to act as a person, how to make money, how to be, right? How to become smarter or this or the, and whoever he's hanging around with is just nothing but trouble. And that's all he's going to keep getting for the rest of his life, unless he changes who he hangs around with. Now, hopefully for him, if he gets, I don't know if he's going to get any jail time for this or not. Who knows? But yeah, you can just see the guy. He's been out on the streets for just a month or so. The Browns let him go. Right? Who else is going to pick this moron up? Right? He's nothing but trouble. Right? Who's going to pick him up? Right? And so you can see him just going down a dark road and just, right, being nothing but trouble. Right? So hopefully for him, he can get his act together and straighten himself out. But whoever he's hanging around with, it's the wrong people. He needs to change that. He needs an attitude adjustment. And it ain't going to be from me, because he ain't going to listen to nothing I got to say or anybody else got to say. He's a small percentage of the population, just small few people that he can maybe hang out with or listen to, right? That might change him, and get him back on the road to success. But the young Joker or whatever he is that what it is? I know it's the Joker, the young Joker, something like that. That's what his rap name is. I think it is. So he's just going down a dark road, and unfortunately, I don't know. It's a shame. Shame. I mean, great talent, but I mean, he's just been nothing but trouble. Nothing but trouble. You know, you just see this keeping up, and the guy, what I say, he was 26. I mean, if he lives till he's 76, you can see. Can you see what he's another 50? If he's alive for another 50 years, I mean, all that's gone on in the last 5 years, this football career. Now he's getting arrested and something. That's only been like 5 years. You can see if he's alive for 50 more years, how much trouble he's going to get into. Wow, man. I just hope one of these things just it's I don't know. Yeah, shock some sense into him. And it's like, hey, maybe what I'm doing isn't the right thing. Maybe I should change my attitude a little bit. But it's a shame. Really, really is a shame. All right, guys, been 2 hours. My first 2-hour session, guys. All right. Yeah. So whoever spent any time listening to me live, thank you. Or if anybody's going to spend any time watching the replay this, once again, thank you so much. It means the world to me. As always, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants. Woo! Oh, yeah.